because that can be so distracting for me. Okay. It's going to be people coming in soon. So I hope.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Yes, we got this either way. That's why we had a replay.
Yeah.
All
Oh, here we
right.
go. Yeah, we got a few people.
Yes. Yeah. Omni Intel. Okay. Shrey. Medea. Okay. It's all good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're gonna wait here for a few minutes and see who else is gonna show up with Patrick and I today. Okay, I am just honored to have Patrick here. And come to find out, hey, we from the D, okay? The Motor City.
That's
And I'm
right.
like, yes, yes, okay? It made me think about Coney Island,
Oh, yeah.
okay? All right, I can see that Buddy's Pizza, okay?
Yeah.
Yes, I can
Yeah.
see the Lions Stadium, the stadium where the Lions and the Tigers
Hmm.
and the Red Wings,
Oh,
okay? The
yeah. Yeah.
home. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this
Fox
is
Theater, it's all right there. Mhm.
yes, I can visualize it. I can see Joe Louis Fist in the middle of
Yeah.
Washington, Woodward Avenue
Yep.
and
Hart
Jefferson.
Plaza. Yeah, Jefferson. That's right. Hart Plaza
Yes.
right there. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I remember the Shane Park where they used to have all the jazz
Oh, yeah.
uh
Yeah. That was a great
concerts.
place.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah. I think they changed that now, but man, that was a fantastic place to see a concert, man. Oh, that was wonderful. Wonderful place.
And the acoustics was out of this world. Oh
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. It was just the right size, too. It was a nice amphitheater. Oh, man, it was beautiful. Great.
It was. And to hear Aretha Franklin or Anita Baker, oh
Hmm.
my God. You talking about a
Yeah.
heavenly voice?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually,
Mm, mm, mm.
I think I saw there, this goes way back, but I saw a triple bill of Bobby Blue Bland,
Oh,
uh, Albert King, and
BB King. Did you say BB King?
no, Albert King, the guitarist, and
Right, right, right.
yeah, and Ray Charles. Ray Charles was the headliner.
My
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, it's such a
And,
beautiful place, just right on the water there, man, overlooking the water. It's just a great place.
and you see the sunset and you can feel the wind blowing
Oh yeah.
and that music. Oh my God, you talking about a good time?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
Okay, absolutely. And you remember the Fago? Uh, it was down the street from on Woodward.
Hmm.
That made the Fago.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and
Yes.
better made potato chips.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
my
That was up
God.
on, yeah, Better Made's up on Gratiot. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Trip down memory
Okay.
lane here.
Yes, that was a good song too.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't get me started. People are like, what they talking about? Okay, we talking about our hometown,
That's right.
the Motor City, Detroit. Okay, I couldn't wait to leave that place. Okay, but having to come back to our roots because that's who we are. We need to face who we are, where we come from.
Hmm.
Everything was not bad about it.
No, no, no,
Okay,
not at all.
yeah, but now I'm looking back over it. And
Hmm.
I'm just looking at all the good things that there were around us that I really wasn't really focused on. I was really focused. I was in a scarcity mindset and I was
Yeah,
too busy trying to get the hell out of that place
yeah, yeah,
so I could get some normalcy in my life.
yeah.
Remember the saying, you can run, but you can't hide.
That's right.
Because even after I left the place, I was still haunted by it because I was trying to run from things, run from
Hmm.
the trauma. I couldn't
Hmm.
run from it. Regardless where I went in my life, it followed me wherever I went.
That's right.
Like
Yeah.
Linus with the
Oh,
cloud. The
right.
cloud kept
Yeah, the little
following me.
cloud.
I'm like,
Right?
yeah, like what the hell? I left that place, but it was
Yeah.
it was still in here. and it
Yeah.
was still following me here.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
I
It's still
just
up here.
kept,
Yeah.
yes, and I kept
Mhm.
running and running and running. You can run, but you can't hide from
Yeah.
yourself.
Right.
Okay? Because you gotta eventually look in that mirror and face yourself and like, it's not nobody else, it's me. I got the problem is within me. Okay.
Mhm.
We know that. Okay, well, we've diverse, but not really. Okay.
No.
Because I, I want to take this opportunity to introduce you, Patrick.
Sure.
Today we're talking about the people who shows up. Okay, and with me today is Patrick Wolf. If I pronounce your name wrong, please correct
No.
me.
Perfect.
He's a he's a writer and an author of Substack publication and book, The People Who Show Up. With 20 years of experience working in the nonprofit sector, Patrick brings a unique perspective to his writing. He describes his background as being close enough to the mission to love it, close enough to the machinery to understand when it breaks. His work frequently explores the quiet dedication of regular volunteers, the supple dysfunction of organizational leadership, and the messy human realities of community work that numbers and dashboards often miss.
That's right. Yeah.
So I'm honored to have you here today because um, my work with the military
Hmm.
um, has parallels with your work in nonprofit. Like a lot of us that worked for the military,
Hmm.
um, it wasn't we weren't it wasn't emphasized, but our work was felt. Okay,
Hmm.
it was felt through the communities, through
Hmm.
the families, through everyone else that we touched. They didn't know it was us necessarily, but it
Hmm.
was felt. And the work that all the nonprofits do helps to support the basic needs of every person.
Hmm.
And we all deserve human dignity. And these are some of the things that we're seeing being stripped away as we continue along our path in these chaotic times. So talk to us about how you came to Substack and your work and how you transitioned.
Sure. Well, like you mentioned, I had a 20 plus year career in nonprofits. And I think maybe there's probably other people in nonprofits who bounce around like I did, but I changed jobs about every 2 or 3 years, 3 years generally. And so over 20 plus years, I worked at 8 or 9 organizations, I think it was. Consulted as well, did some consulting. So I've kind of seen it from a bunch of different perspectives. And what's interesting too is that I've worked for just about all the different types of nonprofits you could imagine: land trust, theater, um, consulted for food banks, and then I ran a food bank and pantry eventually. And then I did a little stint with a behavioral health organization. Worked with the Salvation Army for a little while. Just a really broad range of um, nonprofit missions. And one thing I didn't do is work in academia, which is I think the only checkbox I didn't have. So not that I miss it or or wish that I did it, but I did not work in academia. But the why I came to Substack is I after I retired, I actually left to part of the reason was to take care of some aging parents, and my my life took me away from where I grew up in Metro Detroit, and that's where my nonprofit career started with Salvation Army and Gleaners Community Food Bank, and working down there in the Cass Corridor, where the new arenas are all down there. That none of that was there when I was there. Well, the Ford Stadium was there, and the new Tiger Stadium had been built, but yeah, so that was kind of where I cut my teeth in the nonprofit industry. But I moved away, and so I'd been away for 20 plus years, and I've been away from family for a long time. And then as happens to everybody who ages, your parents, their health deteriorates, and so I really needed to move back to Metro Detroit, and so I did that for a little over a year just to make sure that their health was okay. I had a couple major scares, but they worked themselves through it. Their health is great now, and they're doing much much better, and that allowed me to fulfill a dream that my wife and I had, which was to become somewhat of expats. And so I'm overseas now in Albania, and it's lovely here. Although I should mention that we've had some really serious thunderstorms here today. So if I cut out, that is why. So just want to give you a heads up.
Thanks.
Yep. And of course, like I said, it's been brutally hot here. It was 100 degrees yesterday, 100 degrees the day before. So it's been super duper hot. Um, so the book and how I took all of that, and made my way to Substack and wrote this book. It was almost like the book just kind of had to come out of me. And I had 20 plus years of people that I've interacted with, whether people through not only staff or donors or granting organizations, and hundreds of board members that I've dealt with over the years, community members, community leaders, but then all the many, many dozens, hundreds of people that we served through all those years, and whatever the mission was. And I just had stories and stories and stories in my head of things that have happened, crazy stuff, and most of it was just the dysfunction that I experienced. Well, it was really both. It was the devotion that you see, like you mentioned earlier, the devotion from the staff primarily and volunteers. That's really where you see it. People that help organizations, and low level donors too. That you really see those folks to show up and help organizations and staff. And um, I just had these stories, and I just they needed to come out. And so I just started writing about a year ago. And it was, instead of trying to write a leadership book, or this is how or an instructional guide on how to run a nonprofit, which I certainly could do. My career it was pretty much fundraising or leading organizations. So that was kind of where I worked in nonprofits. So a lot of ask letters, a lot of licking envelopes, a lot of donations processed, a lot of thank you notes, and raised a lot of money over the years. A lot of money. Um, and it was always, even with the dysfunction, it was always a beautiful place to work, no matter where I worked. There was always a beautiful thing that happened, a beautiful story, a beautiful interaction with someone in the community, staff member. Something moving would happen all the time. And those memories, I just couldn't forget. And I took notes a lot of the time, and both the crazy and the beautiful things that would happen. And so I gathered all these stories together, and how I approached, if you've seen this in my Substack, how I approached it is to talk about the people in nonprofit and the dysfunction in nonprofit, instead of you know um, singling out any one particular person or one bad apple. I tried to bring it up to a little bit higher level and use tarot and the archetypes in tarot to describe the dysfunction and devotion that you experience in really any organization. Like you said, you made the comparison to civilians working in the military. It's really any organization that has that similar structure. So, healthcare, education, any nonprofit, they're all going to come with this sort of dysfunction. And you're going to see these archetypes in all of these different, anything that has this type of organizational structure. So if you're familiar with tarot at all, or just archetypes, really, you've got the Fool, you've got the Emperor, you've got the
Pinnacles.
yep, Pentacles, yep, yep. Uh, and I have some of my my preferred and funny stories just in my preferred chapters. Like the book opens with the fool, just because I interacted with and encountered so many board members who were very well intentioned, but they just didn't have a clue. That no clue on how to implement a program, or how to interact with clients, or just again, the well intended, they believed and loved the mission as much as I did, but they just kind of came at it a sideways way that just didn't make any sense. And so that's something that everybody experiences in any type of organization.
Yeah,
Uh,
and then the next thing is how you tell them that.
that's just yeah that yeah boy, that's the $64,000 question, isn't it? And a lot of the time, and at least what I experienced, is they're not going to hear you anyway. You could try statistics, you could try explaining, you could say, hey, well, this staff member has a master's degree in child development, but they're not going to listen. They think they know better, and that's okay. Then but you do have to find a way to navigate all that, and that's just part of the dysfunction. And one of the things I hope, speaking of that, one of the things I hope that people get once I do end up publishing this, and maybe what they see from my Substack, is that by using the archetypes, I hope that people will feel seen and heard, and that so much of the time you're told, or you have conversations where you're being blamed, or you're saying your performance is not quite right, or you're not approaching it just so, or my ideas are better because I'm on the board. And it's not about that at all. It's these are just archetypes that have to play themselves out, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they're bad, but it's just the nature of organizational life, and for me it was the nature of nonprofit life.
Question: if somebody propositions you right now and say, I need you as an organizer because I need to make some money for a campaign, or for to raise money for my foundation I'm starting for women or whatever, what would be your thoughts on that?
Hmm. I could do it. It's not something that I would really. It's not something I'm running towards. I think I'm intentionally avoiding becoming a nonprofit consultant. Uh, I'd like seeing my nonprofit life in the rearview mirror, but I would be, if I could do the consulting part and give you advice, and sort of map out an outline, or a action plan, or a calendar for a fundraising campaign or annual campaign. I could help you write material. I could give you tips on how to pull heartstrings to help you raise more money, and all the different stewardship pieces that you have to do. And yeah, I could help with all of that, just as long as I wouldn't have to do it myself. That would be the key.
Because as we know, there's a will, there's a way. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And the other thing is, are you familiar with grants?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Mhm.
Hey,
Yeah,
so you can help
yeah.
somebody put together a grant, and we can start our foundation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm familiar with all levels of grants, with for up to. Although I would prefer not to. I do have experience doing federal grants. Not all federal grants are the same, and some are way more complicated than others. I prefer to stay sort of on the lower level of federal grants. Like the arts grants are pretty straightforward. They're not as complicated, but something like a HUD grant is, whoo, buddy, you got to be that. That's very difficult. I could do it, or I could give advice on it, but I certainly wouldn't want to open that can of worms again. But just regular local foundation grants, or local family trusts, and things like that. I could certainly help someone give advice for writing those, and making sure you write it a particular way, and satisfying all the different requirements and whatnot. So yeah, that would be easy for me to help somebody with.
And that's why these conversations are so important, because somebody might look at this video later and they might contact you and say, hey, I need your services for so and so and so. So it's always good to be open to new opportunities
Yeah.
if you're receptive to it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm always happy to help somebody out, with a nonprofit mission. I really, it is dysfunctional, but man, nonprofits are needed, and the work that everyone does is beautiful, and it's hard, and it's, sometimes heartbreaking, but it's wonderful work.
And the reason a lot of people don't do it is because they don't know where to start. And
Yeah,
knowing somebody like you can ignite their passion, and it can go in a number of ways. It can just be international. So
yeah.
we yes. So that's good to know. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I wanted to ask you that while it was still on my mind. So if you can get back to what we were talking about, that's
Yeah,
great.
sure. No, no, this is great. Yeah, it's all part of this. I don't really talk about that sort of thing. I didn't want the book to be a how-to in any way whatsoever. The book really started out, like I said, I had all these ideas and stories and archetypes, because I over 20 years I just kept seeing these things repeat, and no matter the organization, big organizations, small organizations, big boards, little boards, I saw these things repeat over and over and over again, and then not just the organizations I was with, colleagues in the same community. You meet with other colleagues, and you commiserate over drinks or something, and yeah, it was just, it would happen over and over again, no matter where it was. And so, like, all communities, all nonprofits are very similar, no matter where they are: big towns, little towns, big organizations, small organizations. It all um, connects. So my book, uh, it's not a how-to. It's again, for people to be seen. It started out as really as seriously. I wrote a thank you letter. It started out as a thank you letter to staff, um, and that was the direction I was going to take the book. And then I realized, as I started to gather all the different stories where I was going to tell the different archetype stories, that I had something much more than just a collection of short stories or personal essays. And it really evolved into this, you know 20 or 30 chapter book, covering 24 different arcanas, and dealing specifically with, I made sure that I included not only the major arcana, not the major archetypes for board or donors. I made sure these, so the people who are doing the governing, those are all the major archetypes, the emperors, the fools, and whatnot. And then I made sure that I included archetypes for staff too, so that people could read the book, whether you're a board member or a someone in the trenches, the staff, or a donor, so that they can get a sense, a feeling of what staff might go through, and how they might feel, and how they approach their position, and how they might see themselves, and how they might see the board. So in a way, it's kind of a roundabout way that could end up being a helpful in in for both board members, and or for both people who are doing the governing and people who are doing the administrating, uh, to be able to see one another a little bit more clearly, and to be able to operate an organization a little bit more efficiency. So it'll probably end up doing that once people, read through the book and see the messages in each of the chapters with the stories that I tell. Um, but there's one thing I wanted to make sure that I did in the book, that I do more often in my Substack, actually, because I enjoy doing it, and it's sharing the stories, what I call mission moments. It's the moments that stick with you when you go and you volunteer somewhere, or if you work in organizations. It could be a hospital, or it could be education, and there's just something that moves you, or that's funny, or that really stands out. And so I break up the book with these mission moments, where I recenter the reader to remind them why we do what we do, why the people show up. It's the devotional aspect of why we work so hard. We work 6 days a week or 7 days a week. Sometimes our phone rings at 11 p.m. and we might have to go do something, or you're yeah, it's all the reasons why we do what we do, and we love what we do. In the end, we love what we do, and so those mission moments are a way to recenter and remind the reader the importance of the work and how impactful it can be.
I love that because I'm going through a couple of books right now. This guy called Patrick Lencioni. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Mm.
Okay. What he did was he turned his book into a course.
Oh,
Okay.
cool. Hmm.
Yeah. So he has this book. He also has a workbook.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And you could potentially do the same thing. And he's also partnering with Wiley. Okay,
Oh,
and selling these courses throughout the
yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Maybe they might have it like maybe 3 or 4 times a year. You get 30 people in that course. Boom.
Hmm.
Okay, I
Hmm.
can even see you creating your own tarot deck in addition
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and you can have workshops with organizations and people during the year. You can create a whole array of ways to monetize. It's not just the
Absolutely.
book. It's not just the
No.
book.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've of course thought about that. And it hasn't been a priority though. I really just wanted to share these stories, and hopefully, like I
Sure.
said, have the staff be seen, and maybe allow the book and the stories to begin a dialogue between administrators or the governance group and the administrators, the people in the trenches. But yeah, there's going to be a huge opportunity to do exactly what you said. And the easiest way would just be an online course or something like that, or certainly a follow-up book that's much 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 shorter, that has a little bit more practical advice, and actionable questions, and maybe other tools that anyone could use to help themselves personally, professionally, in any type of organization. Yeah, so that could be on the horizon. It's not really something that is high up on my priority list. I'm also doing a lot of fiction writing now, so that's kind of taking up a lot of my time. But my Substack is primarily right now. My Substack is just the nonprofit book, the nonfiction book, the people who show up.
But either way, sky is the limit, is what I'm saying. Because a lot of people, including me, we've limited ourselves. And I'm just saying, when we step back and take a look at the big picture, there's so much we can do. I don't
Hmm.
know if he's even writing any more books because he's making money off the book itself and then all the other things. So if you add it all together, he
Yeah,
really don't have to do anything. He just show up and just do a speaking engagement, and he gets a
that's
lot of
right.
money.
That's
Okay.
exactly right. Yeah. Yeah, and the I guess the important thing is to get my book out there and get because it's kind of like sharing at a meeting. So I told you I worked at Salvation Army and behavioral health, and so I made sure that I went to open meetings so that I could become familiar with the people that I served. And you hear those stories, and there's stories of struggle, stories of success, and beautiful stories. And it but and the sharing is important because other people can see themselves in other people, and so it helps you uh you know in your path to recovery. And my book maybe would be able to help people see themselves, and see that their struggles are not their own. They're shared across organizations, and that it might be helpful. It would be great for me to be able to help people in any type of organization, be able to just feel better about waking up in the morning and going into work, and being grateful for the job that they have.
Yes, yes. And it's like sometimes you cross people path for a reason. And I just saw so much potential in you. Just from the conversation, I listened to you. You were talking with Chris, right?
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
like, and I heard you was from the D, and I like, oh no,
That's
I
right.
got to contact him, okay? Because you had a powerful story,
Yeah.
and you love the work that you do, and
Yeah.
I personally just always looking at how other people can elevate, not necessarily
Yeah.
how I can do it myself, but I can see the potential in other people. I just wish I could see it in myself. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Hmm.
And that's why sometimes just sitting in silence, it
Hmm.
gives you an opportunity to see things that you didn't necessarily see that's right in front of you.
Yes, that's exactly right. Well said. Well said. And that's a good point. I'll just make another point on that, and that sometimes we're so stuck either in our own heads or our own minds, and we really have blinders on. We don't realize our experiences might be really helpful and uh, might not be as unique as we think they are. So it's good to connect with other colleagues and just you know try to help one another be the best people we can be and to do the best job we can.
Yes, and I am very honored to have this conversation with you today, Patrick. Every conversation I tend to have, it seems like it deepens my understanding, and it deepens my connections as well with people like yourself.
Mhm.
And thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm just very excited to be here. I'm grateful that you reached out and that we could do this. This is wonderful.
Yes, it was when I knew you were in nonprofit. I'm like, and I'm like, I see the correlation between the government, you know,
Oh
selfless
yeah,
service, okay,
yeah, yeah,
and nonprofit work.
yeah.
And we
Oh
have
yeah.
to look at how we can bridge the gap and help others that are in bad situations right now. How can we help them? Okay,
Mhm.
because the government is no longer, we cannot rely on the government for handouts. We cannot do that anymore. Okay,
No.
when they had the new bill or whatever, when they passed that,
Hmm.
the government, you know, did that at that particular time to help the people. And I'm probably sure that Eleanor Roosevelt, which was a humanitarian, made
Hmm.
sure that happened. She said, I don't care what you do, you're gonna make sure these people eat, and that's the basic thing that anybody needs, you know? And if
Hmm.
you don't have that, you can't go any further in your life at
Hmm.
all.
Hmm.
You know that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And having worked through the great financial crisis, the Great Recession from 2008, 9, 10, that time period when the I mean that was really difficult. I can't imagine what it's like now. It must be really, really difficult to have to absorb a lot of these cutbacks in nonprofits. I mean, I can't imagine how difficult it must be now. And we really what that means is that you just work a lot harder. You got to turn over a lot more rocks, to be able to get your budget to balance. I mean, you just got to work harder to the fundraisers are just working their tails off right now, and the executive directors are just working their tails off, and the program directors are working their tails off to make sure the programs stay running. All nonprofits are just working 50% harder now.
It's sad because when you said that, I had a flashback from the olden days when we had to pick up the rocks by hands to build these uh whatever they wanted, pilgrims or whatever,
Mhm.
pilgrim,
Mhm.
what you call them, whatever. So we people work their ass to the ground. All the accidents and everything, they didn't care what happened. They just want that structure built. That
Mhm.
was the Romans back in the day, how they treated people and everything. That's what it
Oh
reminds
yeah,
me of,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And that's what we're going back to. Okay. I don't know what to say about that. If the nonprofits can't help us, then who's gonna help us?
Yeah, nonprofit. Well, thankfully, there are still plenty of nonprofits out there, and and local foundations usually do a great job of stepping up and trying to fill the gap. There's just philanthropy is great, even in small communities. You'd be really surprised that there's the end of it. And one thing was interesting that yeah, I mentioned the great financial crisis. What I experienced there was that the major donors, whether they were businesses or individuals, they pulled back. But small donors, so anybody below, the $100, $200, the $300, anything below $500. For some people, $500 in some organizations, $500 is a major gift. But the $100 or the $50 gifts, those people stepped up. Like I increase, all the organizations, I found that those lower level donors, they increased their contributions significantly. More people contributed, and those people gave more.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know that we do have good people, a lot of good people out there. Maybe we
Yeah.
just need to get the word out, you know, to more people. Like, hey, this is a possibility to give to this food bank,
Hmm.
because I remember back in the day that every Christmas and every Thanksgiving, there was food at those places. You could go and get a hot meal. You could
Oh
also
yeah.
go there and get a bed for the night.
Oh yeah. 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 That is all available. Well, it's not always available, especially in rural communities. It's not. It's harder to find, and it's harder to maintain those. Like especially really rural communities, shelters are not as plentiful as they need to be. There might be food assistance, and I ran a food bank and pantry in a very rural community, so the food was plentiful, but shelters not so much, uh, which was an issue. And I don't think they've figured out a way to fix that in rural communities, but it's and I still stay connected with some folks who run a shelter in rural Maryland. Um, but one of the things that you mentioned made me think of, it wasn't the small level donors. It was the stories that people tell. The way that I found, uh, you know the most effective fundraising, or the most effective way to connect to people, and especially today because you have so many ways in which you can connect to people with social media, is you just need to be out there sharing your story, sharing your mission successes all the time. And it's not necessary. It doesn't really feel like extra work, because when you're doing those sorts of things and you're sharing the wonderful things that the nonprofit organizations are doing, you want to share the stories. You want to share the good news, and so it doesn't feel like a burden. And your donor base and the people that are connected to your organization really appreciate it. They know that you're actually doing something with their donor dollars, and that you're having a positive impact on the community. So I guess that would be the one thing that I'd say right now everybody should do more often and more of, is to just always share those stories. You need to be out there.
Absolutely. And that's what I tell people. You got to get from behind that computer. I'm not going to buy or donate to somebody I don't see your face and know who you are, what you're about.
Right. Right.
Right.
Yep. Personal connections. Yep. Without a doubt.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It works every time. Okay.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah. Hey, let's circle back to the D here. You mentioned food available during the holidays. Uh, I don't know if you remember, but the Thanksgiving holiday parade in Detroit, huge event, annual tradition down Woodward Avenue. It's beautiful. The other tradition is Salvation Army serves a hot meal that day. Uh, and I know when I was there, we were a couple blocks off Woodward, but we just were overflowing with volunteers who made it a tradition for their families to come out and serve the meal. But we served, I think it was 5,000 meals when I was there. It's incredible. Let me tell you, logistically, it's a complicated thing, to try to manage that much food over the course of the event. But man, it was just amazing to see how much we gave away, and how many different restaurants came to help out and prepare the food, donate the food, and serve the food. And we had hundreds of volunteers. I mean, it was just beautiful. It was wonderful. That's just one beautiful memory I have coming, from the D, when the building's not there anymore, but I'm sure that they still do the program.
That's good. And another event was, remember where they had the old cars going down the street down
Oh
Woodward
yeah, Woodward
Avenue?
Cruise.
What was?
Yeah, Woodward Cruise.
Oh my God! Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. And when Aretha Franklin died, they had cars, pink Cadillacs, come all the way from Ohio
yeah.
down Woodward Avenue to where they was gonna bury her. And what was that? Mary Kay. She sponsored that. And she made
Oh, that's
all
cool.
those pink Cadillacs down the Woodward Avenue. Okay,
Yeah, that's
that was a
great.
homecoming. That was a
Yeah.
homecoming. Okay.
That's great.
Yes. Yes. Ooh. So, does anybody have any questions for Patrick? There's a lot of comments, very positive comments.
Oh,
Okay,
good. Yeah, cool.
and and do you have any closing remarks, suggestions, or recommendations?
You know, I hopefully people will, if they take a look at my Substack, or even just, if you're working for organizations or working in the nonprofit world, and you feel like, you're just super stressed about maybe conflict with, board, or sometimes it's conflict with other staff, but that's not as common. It's usually the governance folks down to the administrative folks, or the people in the trenches. Just don't always take it personal. It's not it's dysfunction that
Mhm.
you just can't avoid, and you just have to find a way to navigate it, and just stay positive about the work that you do, and remind yourself of some of the beautiful things that happen every day at your organization, and be grateful for the people that you help, and the people that you work with, and that you're all in it together, and that um, sometimes it's just the system, man. It's just the dysfunction of the organization, and there's no way around it. And you can try to just do your best to navigate it, and stay positive, and grateful for the work that you do in the community.
I'm glad that you mentioned not to take it personal, because I took everything personal, and that was a problem, because then I kept myself upset and my nervous system was never able to regulate itself.
Yeah,
So,
well, it's almost impossible not to. You're passionate about what
exactly.
you do, and you always want to do a good job, of course. And it's hard not to take it personally. And you got to take those
It
walks
is.
around the block, or you got to go for your just walk down the block, or get out and get some fresh air, and count to 10, whatever you need to do to cool off. Go get a coffee, and then hopefully, in between that time, you have a moment where you maybe see someone that you help, or you're reminded of the work that you do, and that it's all beautiful, even with the dysfunction.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that. That's why I'm retired now and I work for myself.
Right, yeah, maybe easy for us to say, right? Easy for us to say.
Okay?
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. This has been beautiful, but I want to ask you, say if somebody want to come and get a tarot reading, do you do tarot personal tarot readings for
Oh, that's a
people?
great question. Yeah, that's a great question. No, I use tarot because I think it lends itself better to organizational dysfunction, and certainly nonprofit dysfunction, because there's sort of an alchemy in tarot. When you talk about the other archetypes, whether it's Jung or Campbell or Myers-Briggs personality types, they can be very rigid. And I think tarot, in its flexibility, is a much more beautiful blending, that matches better with organizational dysfunction, and organizational uh, uh, devotion as well. So it's just a better tool to describe those archetypes, because there's so many gray areas for all of these different characters that you see in tarot, and it just makes a lot more sense. Well, it made a lot more sense to me to have that flexibility and use that as an archetypal reference than using the traditional methods.
Yeah, I agree because with this book I told you about the five functions of a team.
Yeah.
He they what they use is the disc. Okay.
Hmm.
So I like to have a multitude of things to look at and to
Yeah.
measure and see what
Yeah.
the gaps is between two. Like I like the astrology. You got human
Yeah.
design,
Hmm.
okay, and then you have astronomy. Then you have the enneagram.
Hmm.
So I like to take a look at all of these things and how they interconnect
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how they make what it says about me overall. So
Hmm.
I don't like to just use one specific thing. Multitude.
Yeah. Yeah. And some things are going to connect with people, and some things won't. And it's trying to find those right tools to help people. When you're doing those leadership classes, you're finding the right tools that really connect, really resonate with the people that you're working with.
Yeah, because the disc is basically like what you were talking about. You can see what the person's archetype is, what type
Hmm.
of management style they have. Do they have the avoidance style?
Yeah.
You know, that way you can make better decisions about each member of your team. You need to know their strengths, their weaknesses, so you
Yep.
can manage it accordingly and to help them to manage as well. So everybody elevates and rises together. We don't
Yeah.
leave no man, leave no man behind if you
Yeah.
can,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it too. And I think the tarot archetypes do that in a similar way, where it's if you can talk about an organization or a situation using the archetype so that no one feels singled out. No one feels like they're on the hot seat. Even though the stories that I use in my book, talk about specific people acting in a particular way or doing a particular thing, it's really just about these types of people or these types of structures in the organization. So it's never really singling any one individual out. It really helps diffuse that, so it allows a safer space for that conversations to happen generally.
And as we know, the foundation is trust. Without trust, you have no relationship. So to
Yeah.
build trust, and like you talked about, building that, having sustaining psychological safety, everybody will feel free to speak up and speak their mind without any criticism or judgment.
Hmm. That's right. Yeah, that is so critical for having these when you have these types of conversations and do this type of analysis. Yeah.
I love what you're doing, and maybe once you, when do you plan on publishing?
That's a good question. So the book is essentially finished. I did make one editorial pass just in the last few days. It was it's almost impossible for me not to. I set it aside for a while, and then I just get a little antsy, and I go through it just to make sure that everything's looking great. But there's no more editing that I can do. I really just need a professional set of eyes to look at it. Someone who maybe is familiar with nonfiction in this particular genre, and then to give me recommendations on any edits that would be necessary, and then come up with a pitch deck and reach out to literary agents, and then once I have literary agents, then publish the book. So I would
So,
say the timeline, the Substack is really helping. I'm not using material for the book because I knew a publisher would not like it if I did that. So I'm writing new stories, I'm writing new material, I'm using material that didn't make it into the book, but it's all 100% related to the book. It still uses all the same principles, all the archetypes, everything, all the mission moments, all of that. But so my timeline would be, best case scenarios. I still develop my Substack for as a reference material for a literary agent or publisher, and then or editor, anyone interested in helping. And then in the fall, maybe sometime in October, I connect with an agent, and then we have a conversation, and then we see where it goes from there. So, maybe best case scenario by the end of the year, or some early 2027 would be my goal for the book. And if that doesn't end up working out, with a normal publisher, a publishing house isn't interested, I'll just self-publish. So by hook or by crook, it'll come out one way or the other.
I love that. That's the way we are. Okay, we from the D, and we don't accept failure. Okay,
That's right.
absolutely, absolutely. So we'll have you back on once you publish your book to talk about it.
Oh, I'd be happy to join you again. That would be fun. And then we'd
Yes,
have and then I get to share all this crazy funny stories, man. There's one I got the Wheel of Fortune. I wish I could share all the details, but some of my favorite chapters, the Fool is a funny chapter. Just the people that the people that I the I don't talk about any one specific person, of course. To protect myself and the book and other people, I collapse these characters, but all of these things happened one way or another to me, which makes the stories both sad and funny and hilarious. And I try to use humor throughout. So, I'm not comparing myself to these authors, but they're personal literary essays, and so it's kind of like Bourdain's humor or David Sedaris. It's very similar, actually, to. There's an author who just came out with a memoir about Silicon Valley, Anna Wiener. And now my book isn't a memoir, but it's very similar in style, and so it's funny. It's not heavy at all, and I wanted it to be funny so that it could be approachable, and people would laugh at themselves, and they'd laugh at my God, is my I hope that they laugh at the board members that they see that I'm writing about, and it was a fun write, and I hope it's a fun read for people. So yeah, the Wheel of Fortune stories that I share are just absurd, but they're true, and it's just how fundraising comes. Fundraising is easy one week or one year, and it's extremely difficult the next year. And sometimes it's just the Wheel of Fortune spinning. You have no way to predict it, and sometimes you are the star player, and and then of course you are the scapegoat. Either way.
of
It
course.
just, of course, yes, yes, and just the other characters, I have are just they were just fun to write, and it was fun to write about people that I've interacted with that I admire, and so maybe once the book is published, I hope that the people that I've worked with that are still around that I based loosely some of the characters on will see themselves in the book and appreciate seeing themselves on the page.
That's awesome, and I love the work that you're doing, and another fellow Michigander. Okay, we have Evie out there who's also a Michigander too. She comes from the Upper Peninsula, but we don't hold it
Oh
against
yeah.
her.
Oh,
Okay,
no.
yeah.
That's all right. It's beautiful up there. Beautiful up there.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. So thank you all so much, and thank you so much, Patrick, and keep doing the amazing work that you're doing, and we will catch back up with you.
Sounds great. Great to have a talk with you.
You too. Thanks. All right. Bye. Bye
Bye.
all. Bye.